We are live. Welcome to the very first stake pool operator interview. I'm here with JK from Stakefish. So, JK, how are you keeping today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for inviting me.
Man, it's good to have you here. So first of all, I just want to go into like the whole background behind Stakefish, who you are, what you do, and the company itself. So, do you want to tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, sure thing. So, Stakefish has been founded in mid to late 2018,
Yeah,
and since then we've been focused on sort of the infrastructure layer of blockchains. And obviously, the biggest part of that is running validators. Validators are at the core of making sure blockchains run securely, run in a resilient and a decentralized fashion.
yeah,
And so we've been focused on that, and we have a multi-chain approach. We don't support just one proof of stake
yeah,
blockchain. We support multiple, which is why we have a staking pool on Cardano, and obviously we have other validators on other major networks like
yeah.
Ethereum, Polkadot, and Cosmos. And our roots come from earlier back. Our founder is Wang Chun, and he has co-founded Pool before all of this in 2013. And so Pool is one of the largest mining pools right now, and of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And so he's familiar with making sure to run critical infrastructure for blockchain projects and how important it is for the ecosystem.
Wow, that's quite impressive. You just really have a really nice, good, like solid background. And I actually love how these are both so it's multi-chain. Like it's quite interesting. Especially from our perspective as a like we're small pool operators and it's interesting to get the side of things from people who are like on a larger scale. So it's really cool. So how many are in the company at the moment? Are you growing? Are you expanding? Are you decreasing? What's happening there?
Yeah, so we have 25 people in the team right now, and there's no major sort of office location.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
a remote first company, and we're trying to create a distributed, decentralized team in the first place, just so that not only are we operating our infrastructure in a decentralized fashion, we want to make sure that the operators behind it also is somewhat decentralized,
okay,
and so we don't have a major office location.
okay, that's pretty cool. So I suppose we could talk all day about like different types of cryptos and what one you're in, and I suppose and what type of what pools you actually focus on. But this is a Cardano sort of focused idea. But so why did you guys choose Cardano? What was the incentive? Was it just another suppose high level, Cardano's a pretty solid project. Did you just see it as a way of like I suppose making money, or was it sort of an idea to, you know, did you believe in the Cardano vision? Sort of, did you get behind Charles Hodgkinson's viewpoint and what he was trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so from our point of view, I think that it's the community that was important.
Yeah,
And so just to begin on like the process of sort of choosing these new products that we support,
yeah, yeah,
we try to look at whether the project has, first of all, like a vision on trying to bring something new to the blockchain ecosystem. And then the secondary sort of important part is whether there's a strong community supporting it. And I think Cardano in this case check those two check marks
okay,
off. And we've been getting a lot of requests from the community actually asking to pull together like a staking pool because there was the transition towards proof of stake was happening, and so
yeah,
it definitely piqued our interest, and we definitely diverted a bit of our time into trying to explore this area a bit more. And we've been pleasantly surprised by how strong of a community there was on Cardano.
yeah, because he's really do have a really really big impact. You currently have a pledge of 5 million. You have 49 million live stake. You are like an average to pool produces 43 blocks. You have at currently Epoch 3,241 delegators. So like in terms of like the ecosystem, that's absolutely huge. So you are definitely one of the major operators here. And how does that like? Did you expect Cardano to ever like I suppose looking this time last year, you're talking Cardano may have been what 10 cent. Did you expect this whole? I think we're floating around the 130 mark at the moment. Did you expect Cardano to be so big, grow so fast, grow so big, or was it just more were you just happy enough to see I suppose like it just were you just happy enough like to stay at 10 cent if that was the way it would have been, or what did you think?
Yeah, gotcha. So we tend to pay not a ton of attention to price, really, because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, like it's yeah, the price is nice, but at the same time, as validators, really it's not like we could keep selling the tokens that we earn. Like we do have somewhat of a long-term sort of bias
yeah,
on how we operate, and so we're not looking to like necessarily like we're not really too concerned about like price at the moment. Rather, we're more interested in sort of like community growth and then the number of teams building on top of the protocol. And I think
yeah,
there's been a steady growth there. And I think that's what's that was more important for us. And then seeing like the growth of staking pools definitely it was an impressive one to see.
yeah. It really has come in a lot, especially likes of myself and the guy who I operate, Nicholas Morgan. You know, we wouldn't have never dreamt of doing this a year ago. You know, it wasn't in our mind, but like the fact that it's got so popular, and you know, we've got behind the vision of Cardano, and I really believe that like we can really contribute in a positive manner. So, are you a mission-based pool? Do you support any charities, or do you have any other external like? Do you help like? Do you like helping externally, or what would you do in that sense?
Yeah, so for us, so we do have some like I think green initiatives that we do have internally,
Yeah,
but really that's not like the core focus. At the end of the day, our focus is really on supporting all these protocol teams.
yeah,
Um,
I understand.
so so we want to what we want to see in the future is that like we really believe in decentralization and we want to see this blockchain ecosystem grow. But you know we also acknowledge we're practicalists. Like we understand that it's going to take a bit more time
Yeah.
and frankly a lot of experimentation before we even get there.
Okay.
And you know, for these core devs, core protocol teams, and on top of that, any other teams that are building on top of these protocols, for them to keep experimenting, um, it's necessary that we make sure that we run our validators in a resilient manner, so
Right.
that like they're able to consistently experiment without having to worry about the chain going down at all.
Okay.
And so that's where we see our role. And so we want to do all we can to try to make sure that we support the protocol teams. And we do provide a lot of like, you know, advice, or we provide any sort of any sort of tools or, you know, marketing community building that we can do.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, more so than like I think outside charity or anything like that, we're really more focused on like supporting the core protocols.
And it's saying, I think you said mentioned like how you want to support core protocols. Uh, you only run one pool on Cardano, and I presume with like such like you have with 5 million pledged, you could easily split that right now and make three pools, and you'd all mint continuously, and you'd have a more decentralized network. So why didn't you sort of become one of them pools that create multiple pools, such as I know Bloompool does, uh, and obviously the Binance pools are huge.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, you know, is running more pools necessarily more decentralized if the operator
Well,
behind it is
sure,
like a
yeah, yeah, I
single
understand
entity?
that. Yeah, yeah,
So at least for now, like we didn't really see like a
yeah,
huge difference or like a huge upside towards actually splitting up the pool. I mean, if
yeah,
there's definitely argument otherwise, like we're willing to hear it, but at least if it's for the sake of like um, decentralization, I really don't think it does contribute too much on that front.
yeah. Okay.
Like as an example, like there's definitely a lot of I don't know if maybe you've seen this, but there's you know every now and then, almost every month, there's like someone who comes up with this metric on how many validators are actually behind each of the proof of stake protocols.
Yeah,
And when I look at these numbers, like it's it's great. It's a good proxy, but it's never going to be accurate because you're talking about validators and staking pools that could be easily operated by like one mega corp. And at that point, like arguably, you should be counting that as one. At least that's my point
Yeah,
of view.
okay, I get you. Yeah.
Uh,
I understand.
but uh, but yeah, I mean, we could go into like sort of like the pros and cons of counting it that way, but at least
Yeah,
like that's the approach we're taking.
yeah, that's quite interesting because you've seen some, I wouldn't say money hungry, but like you'd have like if you literally have many bulls, like you can earn a lot more money. Like your rewards will be a lot higher. You
Mhm.
could have five. Say you have that 5 million pledge, you could have just. I'm talking like at the very start, because just like so many pools came on board. Like he's probably been one of the very first pools on Cardano. He's on the testnet.
Yeah, yeah. Um, we did a soft launch and then we
Yeah,
did a proper launch was
yeah,
how I think we came on the scene. But yeah, I remember during the first, I think it was when we first came on, I think it was the 1% pool that like
yeah,
had like at least like 5, 6 pools like from the get-go.
yeah. So that's what I was thinking. Like that's where it's like that's where I was thinking like why wouldn't you do that? But like it's fair enough. Like I think that he's also like from actually not doing that. I think he's also probably have gained a lot of support from single pool operators, because like as obviously some single pool operators are quite against the whole idea that like one entity should run multiple pools, which is also like from my perspective, if they're contributing to the Cardano community in a positive manner, there's really no reason why you can't have one or two, three pools, four pools even. But if you're sort of just in it for,
Yeah.
say, the money sort of side of
Mhm.
things, or the rewards, or you understand like the business end of it. But
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
but
I mean, obviously, we can't ignore that,
you
right?
can't
Like,
ignore that.
you know,
I feel like that gets quite ignored more so. Yeah, it's not really talked about, and I fully understand. Like, of course, like you have to the world works around, it revolves around money. Like you have to put that ahead. You have to think about that. So no, fair play for I suppose just running
yeah.
one.
I mean,
I'm not like not becoming like I'm not becoming a Binance, I suppose, because everyone doesn't. No one likes Binance. Now everyone doesn't like Binance at all. Like, that's just the way it is.
well, just to take a I think a balanced approach, like
Yeah,
our sort of balanced approach is that like first of all to like address like the part of like money versus like
yeah,
trying to stay aligned with like what's good for the ecosystem. I mean, I think the safe assumption, the default assumption should always be that people are not going to act altruistically. Like, you need to
yeah,
design a resilient system that assumes that people will be bad actors and will try to extract any rent that is possible out there.
yeah.
And so like it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fair game if people are doing so. You can't make them not do it unless just by like shouting at them or just like by giving them pressure. You
That's
need to actually design the system so that they don't actually commit to those bad actions.
exactly.
Um, and then the part on exchanges, we're so interestingly, we're pretty open to like we do welcome exchanges staking. I do believe that they're an important part. Um, you
But
know,
what percentage would you like of a whole blockchain should be run on an exchange or supported by an exchange? Do you think there's a certain limit or an amount, or clearly because they're just in it for Binance and Cardano, it's BNB coin, like it's not like they're out to really support Cardano, if you get what I mean. I
yeah,
think it's really more like stake with us and we'll take some, like when you get rewards, we may take a small proportion of that. Yeah, so like
yeah.
it's like are you really supporting the Cardano, like the idea behind Cardano, or are you just supporting like financial like rewards? So yeah, again, that goes back to debate. Is obviously you said like if it's there to be taken, if it's gonna be taken, like money's gonna be taken off the, like
Mhm.
it's just gonna work like that. But it is an interesting topic, and I suppose it's one that can be debated quite a lot, and like it can go on, debate can go on for hours about how
Indeed.
who's right. But I feel like the big players will always back themselves, and the smaller pools will always back themselves. It's just how it's going to be. But that's it's quite interesting. But also, I suppose when you're moving on, like from the future of the pool, the future of Stakefish, will you ever like become? I don't think he will, but I think you mentioned earlier that you will probably just stay as one pool.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't want to commit to to
Okay.
just staying one pool.
Yeah.
Like
So
quite honestly, like
yeah.
who knows, right? Like I can't like I'm not. I mean, easily the incentives and you know the way the protocol is designed could change, right? It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like a married thing.
That's
Everything is
true.
still fluid. So
It's
um, you
extremely
know,
true.
at least we have no plans currently
Okay.
to split the pool. And that's not really something that we're interested at the moment in doing. And just to add, like, there's definitely been a few delegators of ours that were that preferred just to handle their account in just one account rather than like split up their account.
Yeah.
And so therefore they like the fact that they could. There's a huge pledge here, and so therefore there's enough capacity to take their delegations on. So we have these sort of like users examples where it's better for us to just maintain one pool. So at least in the short term, we have no plans of splitting the pool.
Okay. What and I suppose this is a question I suppose smaller pools would like to hear is like how like what would you recommend to smaller pools in order for them to grow and sort of compete with you guys, because it's very difficult for us to compete with a like with you guys, if you know what I'm saying, like 5 million pledge and 40 million.
Yeah.
I mean, live stake. Would you have any? Would you would you ever support a small pool like ours, or like there's multiple pools you can go and there's charity based pools? Would you ever sort of give a
Mhm.
dig out in that sense?
Yeah, this is a great question.
Yeah,
And quite honestly, like so the interesting thing is there's a limit to how much stake we could absorb. We need
yeah,
strong peers. Without
yeah,
strong peers, um, you know, what's the point then?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like we're no longer running a blockchain. We're just like we might as well just be data centers like AWS, just at
yeah.
that point. So that's definitely not the future we want. And it's I'll answer by saying like I don't know the answer to that. Like
Okay.
it's something we want to explore. We want to help smaller validators, smaller pools grow. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
and we've been trying to do some like educational stuff on other protocols for other regions. Like we have already a history of doing that, but like it's still not enough. So it's still a great question, but I can say though one thing. I am I'm not like I I really don't particularly like pledges or like bonds is what they're called like on other
Yeah.
networks. It's really prohibitive for the growth of smaller pools. Like
It
there's
is. That's the very first thing I did before I even thought about like setting up a stake pool. Is when I was actually delegating my own ADA. Was the first thing you look at is the stake, because I think in ADA
yeah.
pools they call it how much skin in the game you have or something like that. So obviously guys with 5 million players, like, oh, they have a lot of skin in the game. Let's go and go straight with them. And then you see another pool that maybe only have 20K like us, and they're like, well, maybe not so much. So it's I think you need someone to take a chance and take a risk and start believing you in order for smaller pools to grow.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like I get the skin in the game. It sounds good.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah,
makes sense, but
yeah,
like it it kills off
yeah,
the growth potential for smaller pools. This is something that definitely needs to be addressed. Like whenever new chains do protocols do come up, like it's one of the things I keep advising them on that like please don't have any small like a pledge or like a bond restriction, because
okay,
this effectively means like you need capital intensive valid pools. I mean only capital intensive pools are the only ones that can grow basically.
yeah,
And you've basically created a system where smaller pools will forever stay small. Like there's the counter argument to this was that can't you use the rewards that you earn like to pledge again and to grow?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I've done the calculations on that. Like you're like no way that is that gonna like lead to double or triple growth for smaller pools. It's going to be at most like what 20-30% of growth
Yeah.
for a smaller pool.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I fully understand. Yeah, that's the sort of dynamic we're facing, I suppose. And then to actually grow as a smaller pool is you have to sort of put yourself out there and sort of try and get try to do interviews like this and try and put your stance on the community, which is what we're trying to do right now, which is difficult enough to do, and has it's sort of the you sort of go through an interesting stage of where we set up the Twitter, you set up the well, not initially YouTube, you set up Telegram, you set up Discord, and then eventually nothing happens. Nothing happens for months, and then you're like, all right, well, let's go for YouTube, and then let's see, can we sort of do something along them lines? So this is sort of the next step we're on. But you can also see why many small pools just say no. Like, what's the point pushing this far? Like, if we're not minting, we're not producing, like a fairly easy just stake with you guys. And yeah, so it's to me, like, this is quite interesting in the sense that we're seeing both ends of the spectrum here.
I truly do like.
Yeah, we're seeing like it's
like
like we're coming together to actually like say, here, look, this is us, these are you guys, and this is sort of like you're providing suggestions on how we can like solve this. And especially I loved how you said like the initial like the very initial step, just like take that like that idea like capital and like large pledges out of the equation straight away, and then like see it sort of, it levels the playing field, and then like sort of removing stuff as like skin in the game terms, because they are fairly like they're quite influential. Like you'll be influenced by stuff like that. But apart from that, like it's been great speaking to you. And do you have anything further to say about Stakefish and
yeah, sure thing. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm pretty honored to be like the first guest here, and yeah,
John, it's been actually great to have you on, because I feel like we have a few other guys. I think Arts is another guy, and then we have possibly another pool from Australia coming on. So to actually have someone like you guys come on who have, we'll say, a lot of skin in the game, just to keep it like that. But yeah, it's been great speaking to you, and it's been an honor to like to just have this conversation, and it's been brilliant. We'd love to have you on again, whatever
yeah,
go. And we can see how Stakefish are getting on in the future. Sounds good.
that sounds great. Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks for having me. And yeah, just one last word to like the listeners out there is just, if you have any suggestions, feedback, feel free to shoot them at us. We're trying to grow together. Like there's definitely stuff that we're not going to be able to cover. There's definitely blind spots for us, and it's important that like our future is also determined by the community. So like it's important for us to hear the community. So just let us know. There's don't get too upset if there's like stuff that we're doing that like might not look it does not like align with what you're thinking about the future, but like we want to talk about it. Like we want to hear feedback, but we want to grow along with the community. And so I have high hopes for Cardano's community. I really want to see it grow. So just hit us up.
Perfect. Thanks for being